Calls. This is the 2021 Rocket Mortgage Classic DFS Tactics Show. Easy enough for me to say. That's a mouthful. As always, we got a lot to get into. Couple of the announcements, just get them out of the way. First off, all statistics provided by FantasyNational.com. Amazing resource. I harp on it every week. I will be the first to give them all the credit. Very useful resource. Go check it out. Highly recommend you invest in it. It really makes wonders. Does a whole lot for you whenever you're starting up DFS tactics, or if you are if you've played for a while, if you have an idea of what you're wanting to do. This tool breaks down everything. It's amazing. Every time I log into it, I find something new. So go check it out. We're going to cover my final betting card of the week. So these are your absolute top people to fade because I'm picking them. And then in the DFS portion, we'll see what I can conjure up and hopefully give you a little bit of good advice for your DFS contests this weekend. But outright betting wise, probably do the opposite of me. You'll be just fine. With that, I think we're going to get started, and we're going to start on Fantasy National's homepage and my custom model. Freeze it. Give me a second while the camera. There we go. Camera gets focused. It's apparently the camera and the software. It's ready for 4th of July weekend, so being a little slow. So if you didn't check out the data research show, what are you doing? Pause the video right now. Go check it out. I'll be right here. Lots of good, useful info in that. But I started to tweak my data model a little bit yesterday and this morning. Still the same premise. This is a bomb and gouge course. You're wanting the fairways are easy to hit, so you want to just hit the ball as far as you can off the tee. If fairways are going to be easy to hit, everybody's going to hit them. Then the advantage comes in how far you hit it. With that means you need to be dialed in with your wedges too. So that is where this comes in right here. The driving distance, I've upped it to 15%. Around the green, 15%. And then 75 to 100 proximity. How good are you with your wedges? That's going to be a crucial part this week. The other scoring portion will be putting, and that's always important. But as followers of this channel would know, I am much less focused on putting. I call it a fickle statistic. It can fluctuate week to week. Certainly over a baseline or over a career, things can get normalized, as in, say, Denny McCarthy, one of the world's best putters, will continually be at the top of putter rankings, whereas somebody like Ben On is continually at the bottom of putting rankings. But from week to week, there's not, I don't want to say there's not any value, but it is so, what's the term I'm looking for? It's so hectic. It's inconsistent from week to week that I usually don't put a lot of stock into putting for a week. This is going to be an exception. The winning score, the 2 years it has been played here, which if you didn't know, we're at Detroit Golf Club in Detroit, Michigan for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. It originated in 2019. This tournament used to be, or this week used to be, the Quicken Loans tournament. Quicken Loans Challenge, Quicken Loans something of another. And then now it's the Rocket Mortgage Classic in 2019 and 2020. The two winning scores have been minus 23 and minus 25. So you have to shoot low. The cut has been minus 4 both years. That is really low for a cut. And if you stay on the cut line, you're coming in last of the people who make the cut. So you really have to, you really just have, I mean, it's not quite an alternate event, but it's close. You just have to go low. And so I've upped my birdies or better gained percentage here, which for those of you who don't know, birdies are better. Obviously birdies, eagles, in the rare cases, albatrosses. These, if you sort on that, these are the players who are best at getting birdies and eagles, which you might want to think, why wouldn't that be important every week? Well, if you're playing a tough course, you more want to lean towards people that don't bogey as much, as opposed to making birdie and eagles. You just want people who make pars on tough courses. That way they're not killing their score. The inverse of that, here at Detroit Golf Club, you need somebody who's going to go out and not make pars. You have to make birdies and eagles. So there's a difference there. It's subtle, but there's a difference there. And I've put a lot of stock into that this week here with the 15% of birdies or better. And I've even put 5% eagles. We're going to look at the course breakdown one more time. The 4 easiest holes are the par 5s. This one's not really terribly conducive for eagles at 0.5%. It's the 4th easiest hole in the course, but then you come the other par 5 on the front 9, 2% eagles. That's a lot. Averages almost 0.5 stroke under par. Then the 2 on the back 9, the 3rd easiest hole is 2.1% eagles, and then 3% eagles. That's a lot of eagles that these 3 holes surrender. So if you're making eagles on that as opposed to just birdie, if you're not birdieing that hole, at least you're losing shots to the field, at least 0.5 stroke to the field. But if you're getting eagles, then you're potentially gaining 0.5 stroke to a stroke on the field. So that's why I've put eagles at 5%. I didn't want to overweight it because you still need to just make birdies, but a little bit of extra emphasis on players who are adept or convert eagle opportunities more. So put that at 5%. And this is this chart, this graph right here is the explanation of why putting is going to be so important this week. It's just the most important stroke gained category at Detroit Golf Club. It's simple as that. Generally, approach and putting are even split. Not here. I'll keep this tab up just in case we want to reference it, but that's showing you a little bit of insight onto why I was focusing on eagles, and even putting it at a little bit of 5% there. Around the green, generally I only put it 5%. This is 15%. And for those of you who follow the channel, which by the way, smash that like and subscribe to the channel. It's very appreciated. All the support is it's very, very appreciated as I try to get the words out. But for those who follow me, know that I am a big stroke approach guy. That's the kind of golfer I target. The general thinking being, if you're going to hit your irons well, you're giving yourself better birdie looks, and can mask some flaws with the putter. It's just not going to be important this week. Most approach shots at this course come from 75 to 100 yards, and nothing really over 150. So even though technically it is an approach shot, I'm more so focused on the distance as opposed to the just overall approach. That's why I've got 15% here in this proximity, this specific proximity. And then to round it out, 3 of the 4 par 5s are of this length. The other one is 618 or so yards. But if 3 of the 4 are in this range, I'll put a little bit of percentage to see who's adept at playing that length of par 5. So this is my overall data model. Cameron Tringale comes out as number 1. I've made a couple of different versions this week, and he has been no lower than 3rd. So something is clearly pointing to Cameron Tringali this week. And a lot of people know that, as he's pretty chalky in DFS, as we'll get into. By the way, jump in on chat. Live chat's open. I love interaction. Shoot me some questions or things that you want to look at specifically, and we'll go over it. But live chat should be up. Come join in. So Tringali rates out as number 1. Number 2 is Charlie Hoffman, which, if you have submitted your lineups already and have Charlie Hoffman, you need to go edit them. He withdrew. Not sure when that happened, as I've been mainly focusing on some spreadsheet and background stuff for the show. So I'm assuming it was today at some point. Might have been yesterday. But he is no longer here, and Charlie Hoffman is generally fairly chalky. So if you've already filled out a lineup, make sure you go check that Charlie Hoffman wasn't in it. At the same token, Eric Van Rooyen, Luke List, and Jim Nose have also withdrawn. But Charlie Hoffman's definitely the big name that is withdrawn for the week. So Tringali, Reed, Homa comes in at now 3rd, but it'll say 4th. 3rd, and Webb Simpson are your top 5. Glover, Willett, Kokrak, Snedeker, and Garrick Higo round out the top 10. DeChambeau and Wolf right outside of it. And the common line of thought among the industry this week is that driving distance is going to matter. So if that's the case, why is DeChambeau so lower than what he should be if driving distance is what matters? Well, it certainly does, but he has not been good lately around the green. And even though he is hitting it far, you still have to be able to convert that long drive. And lately he's just not doing that. And he's generally really bad with the proximity that I'm kind of focused on, and what the course has tended to lend itself to the past 2 years. So it gives me a little bit of pause, but there's a reason DeChambeau is the betting favorite. Last I saw, he was 7.5 to 1. Nobody else was there was one person at 11, and then the next were 18. And there's a reason DeChambeau's a heavy favorite. But there is certainly a reason to fade him if you're wanting a reason to fade Bryson DeChambeau. Sorry, reaching over and get my usual Gatorade here. Patrick Reed, solid. Just solid all around game. I like Patrick Reed this week. I really like Webb Simpson this week, and yes, he's not not very far off the tee, not long off the tee. He's not conducive to eagles, which could come back to bite him. But you look overall, the rest of his stats are sublime. I wouldn't say world class, but birdies are better. 25th. Now that's obviously all in birdies. He's a great putter. Around the green game is fantastic. He still can hit some approach shots when he needs to. You look at the current form, it's just, outstanding. He missed the cut at the U.S. Open, but top 30 of the PGA, top 10 at the RBC Heritage, 12th at the Masters. So he's coming in with really good form. Hasn't played a lot, but good form when he has played. We are on POA greens this week. He putts POA fairly well. You'll take a look at last year's edition. In 2020, he came 8th. And then in 2019, where'd he go? I just saw it. Maybe he only played it 1 year. I'll check real quick. Yeah, he only played in 2020. But obviously he has good vibes around this course for the one time he played it. So I like Webb Simpson this week. A potential pivot, but we'll get into the weeds of the data here in a second. There's not a lot of pivots at the top of the board, but I'll just give you my overall quick look here. Willett I kind of like, but I'm just scared of Willett all the time. Like, I don't know where his game is. I say that about Rose a lot, but I mean, you look at this form; it is just kind of all over the place. He has not been good off the tee lately. He's been good around the green, so that's one thing you can kind of hang your hat on. Detroit Golf Club, you have to be good around the green. So if this comes, to a chipping fest, then you like your chances with Danny Willett. But I don't know. I know he ranks out really well in my model. I don't know if I can get there in DFS. Homa, decent play at a middling price. Patrick Reed's, if you're wanting to fade the Bryson noise, you can go to Patrick Reed, but he's pretty chalky as well. I like Alex Noren this week. I like Alex Noren quite a bit. He generally plays these easier courses very well. Always a very good short game player. Is not, he's not long by any means, so he's not gonna go out and hit a flurry of eagles. But otherwise, I mean, he's, really good around the green, really good putting. Plays par fives with this distance pretty well. I like Alex Noren a bit this week. Denny McCarthy, if putting's a thing, I mean, you can see number one putting. He generally is the number one putter in a field when he's playing. Cam Davis, Keegan. Anytime you have to putt with Keegan, it's kind of a scary proposition. But everything else, Keegan says it should be a good week for him. So there's just some quick looks here. I'll dig into, like I said, I'll dig into the weeds here in a little bit. But I want to bring up my Excel sheet. Let me switch the views here. This is the same exact chart that I just had on Fantasy National, and this is the kind of the calculator here. When we're trying to make a team, I'm going to sort this by price, as I've got it sorted by my rankings right now. Sort by, what is that, B? Yep. Oh gosh. Blah, blah, blah. Yep, computer thinks it's July 4th. It's quit. It's done. I don't want to work anymore. My salary, largest. Come on. Technical difficulties. Sorry. Go. Why is Tringali still up there? Oh, that's frustrating. Anyway, I'm just going to hide this row. Hide. Alright, so of the top, we'll say the top tier, people over 10,000. You got Bryson, Patrick Reed, Webb Simpson, Matsuyama, and Will Zalatoris. Patrick Reed's number one of these players in my model. He's third, technically second since Charlie Hoffman withdrew. But I just kind of want to show you how difficult it's going to be to try to fit Bryson in a lineup this week, being so expensive. This column here is just my ranking. It kind of spits out a total ranking. That way, when I'm doing this, get some different variations on the team, which one is rated better in my model, and so on. But so if you want to start with Bryson, and we're looking, in the 9Ks here. I mean, there's some really good options. You got Matthew Wolff, Keegan Bradley, Jason Kokrak, who's ranked 8th in my model, but you almost have to skip this entire range if you want to use Bryson DeChambeau this week. I don't know how high you can go on your second player. Let's just say Max Homa at mid. I think he's 85. Ma'am Homa. Max Homa at 84. Even dropping all the way down to Max Homa for your second, you're still only left with an average of 75.50. Do you splurge and try to fit another mid to high 8? Do you kind of spread that out? Are you dropping down in here in this range, trying to find some players that might not be too terrible for you? It's always hard for me to try and fit the top money or top salary player in a lineup just because there's so many good options. Yes, I'm kind of tipping my hand here, but I generally build a more balanced lineup. Certainly I will make lineups that have like Desham this week or John Rahm when he at the U.S. Open, but I try to really the common term is diversify your portfolio or whatever, but you spread your assets around. I really like to do that. I don't try to hone in on one person unless I really, really have a strong feeling about it, and I really don't for Bryson this week. Would I be surprised if he won? No, absolutely not. But I could see him, making the cut and then tie for 30th. And when you're paying that much for your top pick, you got to have a top 5 out of him. You just do. And I don't see the guaranteed top 5 from Bryson this week. I just don't. If he tops top 5s, hopefully I'll have enough lineups with him, but more than likely I'll lose more often than not if Bryson top 5s, let alone wins. Again, I'm not going to be surprised if he does. But for exactly 800 less, I get a player that I have ranked higher than him. Now, whether he should be or not is up to you, and that's why you should go invest in FantasyNational.com. That way you can make your own models. You don't have to listen to an idiot like me talk at you. But someone who's rated at higher in my model at $800 less, $800 doesn't sound like much, but you can spread that out. You can go from, say, a Garrick Higo to a Max Homa. There's a jump in rankings. You can go from, I don't know, say, you can take maybe you're on Hank Lebioda or a Cam Davis. You can jump that up to a Danny Willett, who's 7th in my rankings. That gives you so much more leeway when you keep coming down in price. And there are a few 6Ks that I really like this week, and we'll get into that. But I always like doing this, having this little exercise to show you how difficult it can be to build a lineup with the top salary person. And certainly I'll build a couple, but I'm also going to build a few others for you that I've kind of honed in on and I like this week. And it's the fate of Bryson. It call it what it is. And you hope that he just kind of has an okay week, or if he misses the cut, we're looking outstanding. But it's the fade Bryson narrative. I'm going to switch back to Fantasy National real quick. So we transition to that, and we bring that up. And this is a Don Ross design course, and the Fantasy National database only has 4 courses for Don Ross. So while that could be argued that the data is skewed a bit because there's not a lot of data in there, I kind of take a little bit of different approach in that I really want to see what the data says. Since there's so little of it, I can parse through that easier. We'll just keep the same percentages across the board. Putting at 20, driving distance 15%, birdies are better 15, There might be another 15. Yeah, wedge proximity and so on. But this is just on Don Ross designs of the last 36 rounds. And we'll touch on this here in a bit. But it says Jason Day, and Rory Sabatini, Nate Lashley, Sepp Straka. That's fine, but the problem is you're getting 26 rounds out of Jason Day from 4 golf courses. You've got this one, Detroit, which is the Rocket Mortgage, Eastlake, which is the Tour Championship. There's going to be some rounds from that, but 30 players a year make it to Eastlake. So how many rounds of that are there? And this Detroit Golf Club's only been going for 2 years, 2019 and 2020. So the most you can have there is 8. Plainfield was the 2015 Barclays, and that's it. I take that back. It might have been 2011 as well. But, 2015, how much data do you want to, or how much do you want to extrapolate from 2015? It's 7 years later, 7 years later. Things change wildly in that time. So basically, you're looking at what I'll say 2.5, because Eastlake's not a half a golf course, obviously, but it's only 30 players. So there's not a lot of rounds that go into that for these players. So you're looking at Detroit for the past 2 years, and Sedgefield, which I had over here, is the Wyndham. The Wyndham is the week before the FedEx Cup playoffs start. So a lot of guys are either, one, taking off to rest up for the FedEx Cup, or they're, right on the bubble and they're having to play in that event to secure their spot in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Because of this, it's a long-winded way of getting around to, I do not advise using 36 rounds for Don Ross. If it were Pete Dye or Jack Nicklaus, it'd be okay because there's a lot more data there. But we're going to need to shrink this down. And even 24 would be a bit too much in my opinion. So I'm going to do for the last 12 rounds, still keeping this Don Ross filter on with the same metrics, the 20% putting, 15% birdie or better, 15% driving distance, and so on and so forth. For the last 12 rounds, so maybe year and a half, who has played the Don Ross designs the best? It's Matthew Wolff. So let's check the Wyndham and let's check the Tour Championship and see how Matt Wolff has done. So first we'll check the Wyndham. Played it in 2019 and did fairly well, top 20. Did not play it in 2020. And then let's check the Tour Championship. Was he not in it last year? I guess he wasn't. Nope. Stopped at the BMW. So you've got Wyndham, the Rocket Mortgage, which he was solo second that last year. So you have good data, or data that points to him being very good, but there's a very limited number of rounds. But the recent Don Ross form is good. So I like Wolff this week. Spoiler alert, I have a win bet on him, and we'll cover my betting card at the end. So I like that the data is popping him up number one, but the problem with having having a Don Ross design here is that there's just not a lot of data. There's just not. So you're really going on one, either recent form, or if you want to buy into the Don Ross guys playing, Don Ross course as well, you're really kind of looking at 2 tournaments, the Wyndham and this tournament. And while you can get some information from that, it's not the most reliable, for me at least. Pete Dye is, whenever we play Pete Dye courses, I feel a lot better about Pete Dye because there's just so much more data there, and it has time to normalize. It has time to stabilize. But I did want to take a look and just see who plays Don Ross courses fairly well. And the good thing is Matthew Wolff and Sepp Straka, which Sepp Straka is somebody I'm on this week a lot, which a lot of the public is too. But, I mean, they're not short off the tee and still putting up very good numbers at these Don Ross designed courses. Sepp Straka, 8th in putting, 3rd in birdies, 12th in distance. That's a pretty good formula for here at Detroit. And you'll see that he's had some pretty darn good results here at this tournament in his 2 years. 8th and 11th. So Sepp Straka is built for this course, at least in the 2 years that he's played it. He's built for this course. Best green surface putting is POA. So Sepp Straka is somebody that I am, even if he's chalky, I'm just riding it. We're going with Sepp Straka. And because of that, I just gave him the curse. He'll miss the cut for the first time in 3 years. But Sepp Straka is the chalk that I'm willing to eat this week. So let's take off this Don Ross filter. Let's look at fast POA greens, because one of the only defenses this course has is how fast they keep the greens. There's a bit of water on the front nine, but like I said, the winning scores have been minus 25 and minus 23. Guys will go low, so the only defense really, because it's been calm the past 2 years, or classified as calm, so that one of the only defenses that this course can have is fast green speeds, and they keep it fast. But let's just look at fast POA for the last 24 rounds and see who putts the best under that circumstance. Brian Stewart, Nate Lashley, there's Patrick Reed again, Vaughn Taylor, Maverick McNeely, Rogers Day, DeChambeau, McCarthy, and Todd are your top 10 of the last 24 rounds who putt well on fast POA greens. So should be no surprise. Majority of these guys are known for being good putters. You might question DeChambeau, but one of his best surfaces is POA. Bermuda is obviously his best, but POA's not bad. And the U.S. Open, even though it was the U.S. Open Torrey Pines, even though he completely imploded on the back nine, he still putt well on those greens, and they were fast POA greens. So he generally putts well on fast POA greens. So there's a quick look at who, if you're really buying into the putting, and that's the kind of player you prefer, as somebody who can just get ice white hot. I mean, just fire hot, white hot with a putter. As I throw in all the adjectives that make absolutely zero fucking sense into it. If you just value somebody who can just putt the daylights out, then these are the kind of guys you kind of want to gravitate towards. The last thing I kind of want to show you all is, because this is an easy course, it's essentially a birdie fest. There's a scoring relative to par filter here. Let's put that on easy. Let's just see who plays easy courses well. And I'm going to expand it out to 36 rounds, although you can get an idea for 24 as well. So for the past 24 rounds, Cameron Davis, Cameron Tringale, Patton Gazire, Harry Higgs, and Christopher Ventura are your top 5 for easy courses. Then the rest of the top 10 is Neiman, Simpson, Hughes, Howland, Wolff. So you get a little bit of overlap there. Wolff's in the top 10. There's Simpson's here. Tringale. But there's some interesting names up here. And look at the prices for these guys. 72, 74, 66, 62. I mean, on easy courses, Christopher Ventura is first in putting and first in eagles on easy courses. So if you're trying to jam Bryson, Ventura doesn't seem like a bad option if this is a narrative you want to follow. So, and again, we'll build a couple of lineups here shortly just to just to see how we can make that work. But let's expand the baseline here. Let's go past 36 rounds on easy courses and see on a longer term basis who has played easy courses well. Cameron Davis again, number 1. Matthew Wolff jumps up to number 2. You have Simpson and Neiman. Tringali Ventura still 6th. Straka 7. Villegas now pops up. Siwoo Kim. Harry Higgs is your top 10. Kazire is still in the top 15. Alex Noren, I mentioned him. He's known as a easy course go-getter, however you want to label that. So Noren, somebody else I like this week. So I definitely wanted to highlight this aspect of the data model this week. Easy course. That's why I have so much weight in birdies or better gained, because it's such an easy course, and you want to see who plays the easiest of easy courses better and who takes advantage of it. Cameron Davis, Ventura, Chesson Hadley, Webb Simpson. Even though he's not Eagles, he's getting a lot of birdies. Neiman, Wolff, Higgs, Desham, Will Gordon. Makes a lot of sense because he's known for his length off the tee. Cameron Champ, known for his length off the tee, actually longer than Bryson, surprisingly. Noren, Tringali, Murray, Griffin, Dahman. So if you're wanting to go the takes advantage of easy course narrative, those are some guys that you should kind of gravitate towards. But I've removed the filter, added, or just going back to my base model for the last 36 rounds. Let's kind of go through a quick run through of, so as I bring it up over here, some chalk and some fades and who's being forgotten. So in the top tier, and I'll just classify it 10K or more, all of these guys are pretty chalky. Bryson's the second owned of the whole field at 18%. So a lot of people are just believing Bryson's going to have a great tournament, and probably will. But there is a way to fade that. Sorry, I got an itch. There's a way to fade that. Because if he doesn't have the greatest of tournaments, like if he doesn't win or top 5, then you're potentially picking up a lot of win equity off the field if that many people are projected to have him. So Patrick Reed's at 12.5. Will Zalatoris is at 12. Webb Simpson and Matsuyama are in the 13s. One's in the higher decimal, 13.8 and 13.1. So I like Simpson a lot. He is rather chalky right now, but he is less chalky than Desham. So Reed and Will Z are the two kind of outliers in this range, but they're not outliers in the sense of you're really gaining a lot of leverage. It's not a real true pivot. It seems like that most of the public is, if they're not jamming Bryson, they're finding a way to get another top guy in there, and then really, really going down the board later on, like I discussed with DeChambeau on the spreadsheet. So we'll go into the 9Ks next, and there's not many of those. So you have Neiman, 98, Kokrak, 95, Sungjae, 93, Bubba, Wolff, and Bradley at 92, 91, and 90. Here there is one clearly forgotten about player, and it's the one who happened to just blow up last week. Bubba Watson's at 4.5% right now. He is the clear pivot choice in this range. Kokrak is the most owned player right now, or projected most owned at 20%. And Wolff and Sungjae and Neiman's really high too. He's third most projected owned in the entire field. Sungjae and Wolff less so. Wolff's very close to being chalky, but the clear pivot if you're wanting to go in this range is Bubba. and I don't know if this is a Bubba course. I don't. He was built for the Travelers last week. He's won that 3 times, and even on the DFS Tactics show last week, I mentioned I wasn't on Bubba last week, and now the first 63 holes made me look like a complete dumbass. And it turned out that I made a decent call on it, but I don't know. I'm not feeling Bubba right now. His approaches have been bad. He's been good off the tee lately. The Travelers, he had a good tournament, but he should have won that thing. He just completely blew up. He pulled a D-sham at the U.S. Open. I think it was bogey, double, bogey, or bogey. It was awful what he did on the back nine. The 2 tournaments before that, granted they were majors, it was so. You made the cut, great. So I don't know. I'm kind of wary on Bubba right now. So I'm not going to play Bubba, which means if I'm trying to pick up leverage on the field, I'm going to go lower in the price point. Because you're not picking up a lot of leverage at the top either, because a lot of those guys are, Bryson's heavy chalk, but all of these guys are above 12% ownership in the 10Ks. So if you're really wanting to go contrarian, you might have to start your team in the high 8s and build 4 or 5 8s and high 7s. That seems to be the contrarian play right now, because most guys are jamming at least one of these guys in, and I think, again, these are just projections, but I think they're trying to get one here, or in the upper 8s, except for Bubba. Bubba's just being forgotten. Kokrak is the most owned player in the field projected. So 18%, 20%, or 20.5%. In the 9K range, I like Kokrak, but that's not chalk that I'll eat. I already mentioned I was going to eat the Sepp Straka chalk, which, spoiler alerts, he's going to be pretty chalky up here later. Kokrak's fine. Neiman, I like Neiman, but the around the green game scares me, and this course is a lot of around the green. So, if this course becomes a chipping fest, you don't want Joaquin Neiman. I like him as a player. I don't know where his game is. Kind of like Bubba in that regard. Matthew Wolff is probably the guy I would advocate in this range. He's at 12%, which is fairly chalky, but not terrible. Keegan's at 9.5%. No, 8.5%. So he's also a potential pivot. But I mentioned earlier, anytime you've got a putting course and you got to rely on Keegan Bradley, well, you've left yourself with that fate. Be it what it may. So I don't know. I'm not, but I don't know. I might fade this entire range, to be honest with you. I might play a little bit of Wolf, even though he's pretty chalky. I will try to limit my exposure to Bradley, but if he gives me some leverage, some win equity on the rest of the field, might throw him in a few lineups. I don't feel great about it. Definitely not going M or Bubba or Neiman for that matter. So not a lot there, to be honest. Not a lot there. We'll go into the 8s. Day, Fowler, Woodland, Kisner, Homa, Higo, Griot, Tringali, Siwoo, and Phil Mickelson. I just kind of have to laugh that Phil Mickelson's top 25 in my model. I don't know how I feel about that. I know how I feel about that. Not good. But in the 8K range, you've got two clear choices, and then a whole lot of pivot. Max Homa at 13.5% at 8,400, which he ranks fourth in my model, so I can understand it. And Tringali, which is number one in my model, and apparently he's rating out well in other people's models too, at 8,100. He's at 14%. So those are two big heavy chalks there. The guys that are being forgotten about, Jason Day, he's only at 5%. Phil's at 4%, and Ricky Fowler's at 5.5%. So, I mean, if you believe that Ricky is back and he can putt like he was the old Ricky, might not be a bad play. I don't think I'm going to get there, especially since Poet is his worst putting surface. But I mean, the putter has picked up the past 10 and especially the past 5. It was not good last week at the Travelers, but look at the around the green here. I mean, one negative in the past 12 starts ish, 12 or 13. Yeah, so he did not play the Wyndham, and let's see. Obviously wasn't in the Tour Championship. I don't know if he's ever played this event. Has he played this? Yeah, he's played it both years. So yeah, top 12th last year and played pretty well at it. 46th the year before. So there's a little bit of course form here. Ricky might not be a terrible play. He doesn't rate out great in my model for sure, but around the green has been good. He's not going to get. I don't know. If you're looking for a true pivot, it's Ricky and Jason Day. Well, Phil's the true pivot at 4%. I'm not going Phil. Great story. Congrats on winning the PGA. I'm not going there. I don't know. I don't like eating the Garrick Higo chalk, or not the Higo, the Homa chalk. I'm definitely eating the Tringali chalk. I mean, he's number one in my model. I would not serve my own self justice doing these models and not play the number one guy in my model. So I'll definitely have some exposure to Cameron Tringali, probably a little bit to Homa. Although I can fade Homa, especially since I was so keen on him a couple weeks ago, and he just completely shit the bed at Torrey Pines. There's a little bit of jaded ex-lover in me for Max Homa right now. All the other guys here in the 8,000s are, in between, say, 9 and 12%. So, kind of choose where you want to go there. It's almost like people seem to be going like D-Sham and a 9K guy and then going way, way down, or they're going D-Sham Reed into this area here with Tringali or Homa and then working their way down. That's what it seems to be right now. Try to cover through the 7Ks here fairly quickly. Redmond is real chalky, and there's a reason why he has played this event very, very well his 2 times here. 21st and a second. Wasn't terribly great last year. He just saved himself with the putter. But, I mean, the year before, just outstanding. So, Redmond's chalky. You can understand he's played this course well. He's at 13.5%. But he's the only one in this range that is heavy chalk at 7,900. So it seems like people are doing the Tringali Redmond double up, or maybe the Homa Redmond. They might have lineups with all 3. Build a little balance and get maybe like a Reed and a couple of 7s or low 7s and 6s. But at 7,900, Redmond is chalk, and I'll have some exposure to him. Just he's got good course history. The other chalky-ish options here are Sepp Straka, and I'll eat that chalk all day. I really like him. I've got a win bet on him, and a top 20 bet on him, so I'll eat that chalk. McNeely's at 12%. I guess I am willing to fade that. Nothing I have in my model kind of stands out. What's going on with Maverick McNeely here? Decent form coming in. Definitely okay. So Poa is his best putting surface. Did play well at the Heritage, 30th and the 20th the past 2 weeks. Okay. What's his record here? So at the Wyndham, at the bottom of this page, I see he missed the cut. At that, he did. Okay, so he was top 10 here last year. And what about, yeah, so he only played the Wyndham that 1 year. So, okay, I can see why people are gravitating toward it. I can be off of it. If you're playing McNeely, great. I don't think that's a terrible play. I don't mind fading it either. So he's at 12, and then everybody else is low. I mean, we're talking 8% and lower. You got Danny Willett at 5%, and I like Danny Willett this week. I kind of do. I know I mentioned I was, kind of poo-pooing it there, but I don't know. The approach game isn't going to matter a whole lot, I don't think. Elite in the field for birdies or better gained. Very good at the par fives, which you're going to have to take advantage of the par fives. Maybe Danny Willett's your pivot here. He's at 4.5% projected ownership. So if you're getting Danny Willett at a third of the ownership of Maverick McNeely, a fourth of the ownership of Doc Redman, and he's rated sixth in the model, at least in my model, I would go with Willett all day long on that. That's if you're going to get those true pivot or the true percentages there. Seems like it's shaping up like that on a Wednesday evening. That's why I like to do this DFS tactics show on Wednesday evening to see where these lineups are really getting concentrated at. So I like Willett. So when he misses the cut, you can come on next week and tell me how much of an idiot I am. But I think Willett's a very good pivot there. The star of that guy, at least for me. Yeah, I mean, there is nothing being played here until you get down to the 7,200. Cam Davis, we talked about a little earlier for the easy courses, and I think he may have popped a little bit on the Don Ross, but he certainly popped on easy courses. He's at 11%, which makes a lot of sense. 21st in my model. Not great around the green, but really good. Eagles, great at birdies better, great at driving distance. There's a reason he's fairly chalky. I'll have some exposure to Cam Davis. And then right under him, Hank Lebioda is at 10%. And I can get there. I mean, he's not the longest, so he doesn't play the par fives great. He's not going to get a bunch of eagles, but his approaches are good. He's been playing well lately. I mean, his current form is pretty darn good, especially after coming off last week. He's made 5 straight cuts and 3, what I call 3 high finishes. Top 20s are nothing to sneeze at. So, yeah, I can get behind the Lebioda thought process there. But I mean, you've got several guys. I mean, Chris Kirk is at 7%. Now, whether this is a good Chris Kirk call, I don't know. Doesn't look to be, but I mean, if he finds that form that he had earlier this year, there's a bunch of leverage you're gaining. Kramer Hickok, runner up last week in that duel with Harris English, he's at 2.5%. Hadwin, notoriously very good putter, and on a course that putting is going to matter, he's only at 4.5%. Poa is his best surface. Now you have to ignore the fact that every other part of his game is shit right now. But if you're going to buy into the putter, at least he's got a skill that he can go to. I mean, when you're down in the 7s and 6s, you're just kind of throwing darts unless they've mispriced somebody horribly. You're kind of throwing darts. At least Hadwin has a specific skill. You know what to get from him. So there's the sevens. Up top, it's Doc Redman. It's real chalky, Straka, McNeely, and then at the bottom of it, it's Davis and Lebiota. And then we'll go to the 6Ks, and we've hit on one already that I really like. But right now, there is no 6K player right now that is above 7%. So it seems like, okay, I'm sorry, Henrik Norlander is at 8.5. So it looks like people are trying to stop their team at Lebiota Lebiota Davis, maybe Bryce Garnett because he popped on the Don Ross model. Garnett's getting a little bit of love, not too much though. So other than Henrik Norlander, which what's Norlander got going on over here? He's at 68. What's he got going on? Because I have him rated awful. So what am I missing that some of the public's on? Been good tee to green, I guess. Again, I just don't think approach is going to matter this week, and I'm a strokes gained approach, aficionado, not aficionado, but someone who backs that as much as I can. So I don't know. This is not where I would, take my stand in the 6Ks, is how I'll say this. He did 12th, tie for 12th last year at this course, so he's got a little bit of love, or good course vibes. The Wyndham is the other, Don Ross comparable course, and he hasn't played it all that well. I mean, go back to when he played it really well, it was 2013. How much are you going to take from that? So, I'm not there with Henrik Norlander. Sure. Just really quickly, some of the 6Ks I like. It's really just a couple. Villegas only because he popped on the easy model. I don't hate Vaughn Taylor because of his putting. If he can just do anything on the par fives, you have a pretty good price there on 6,600. It's a risk, yeah, absolutely. But when you're going down this low, everything's a risk. We talked about Harry Higgs, popped on a couple of models. Denny McCarthy. My favorite play though down here is at 6,200. I love Christopher Ventura. I love Ventura this week. So that just means he's going to shoot 80, 79 and pack his bags. But I have no problem coming down to 6,200 for Christopher Ventura this week. We saw him pop on the easy models. You can see strokes gained by difficulty. He's best when it's easy. Doesn't like to play wind very, very much, which could be a problem this week, and I'll show you. He's not in great form, so a lot of people are off of him. I probably should be off of him, but I don't know. It's one of those gut feelings that I like Christopher Ventura this week. So there's my bold call of the week. I think Ventura is going to have a pretty good showing. I'm not going to say he wins it, but I think he's going to have a pretty good week. He's definitely going to be worth your 6,200 investment in DFS. So there's a quick run through. This was DraftKings pricing, obviously. Another great thing about Fantasy National and why you should invest in it. Say you play FanDuel. There's your FanDuel pricing as soon as it loads. Come on, don't make me a liar. Just load it. There you go. So you have your FanDuel pricing, which Bryson's at 12.2. I don't play FanDuel, so I don't know how the pricing works. But you can change that, you can go to Yahoo or just flat betting odds, everything. So fantasynational.com. Go check it out. Go invest. Well worth it. If you're going to get heavy into DFS especially, but even outright betting. Even outright betting is going to have a lot of good information for you. Couple last things that we'll check here before I show you my final betting card. The wind. The past 2 years it's been played here at Detroit Golf Club. It's been calm. Tomorrow starts off calm, 7 to 9, mediocre gusts. But then in the afternoon, you get 13 to 14 with gusts near 20. So that's a heavy, heavy favor of the AM there tomorrow. At least what's looking like right now. And then Friday is more of the same, although the morning starts at 10 degrees and has gusts up to 20. That's quite a severe difference in sustained versus gusts, and that can really throw off. That can just throw off golfers if you play the game. If you're expecting one thing and a gust of wind comes up, your shot could just be fucked. Whereas you have your late round of the morning, and it looks like your entire afternoon wave are kind of staying consistent as far as the amount of wind and the gusts. So both days have an AM favor, but just because how benign these are compared to the rest of the week, I think I'm going to say that the AM-PM split has an advantage, especially because there's a little bit of rain projected tomorrow afternoon. And if that does come in and it softens the course up, softens the greens, then that's a heavy favorite for AM-PM. So there's my lean if you want to take a narrative of which half of the field to play. I would lean AM-PM, but it's nothing so stark and drastic that it would be a sole focus by any means. But I would be comfortable saying, like, if you do 50 lineups, and I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number, that 10 would be, 5 to 10 would be, an AM-PM focus. All 6 of those guys are in the AM-PM wave. So that's the weather. And I brought up the leaderboard on PGA Tour, so tee time. So let's just take a quick gander on who are some of the names that we talked about in the AM wave. So right off the bat, the first tee time is Doc Redman, and he's played this course really well. So there's one guy, Patrick Rogers, good putter. He's popped on a couple models. Cam Davis, we've talked about a lot. Norlander, a lot of people are talking about. I'm off of him, but I like Noren this week. He's in the AM. Who else kind of popped in these models? Todd's a good putter. Homa, Wolf, Bubba. That feature group is pretty good. That's pretty good for them in the AM. You got Phil, Hideki, and Ricky Fowler. Siwoo, Sung Jae, Morning Wave. McNeely, Higgs, Morning Wave. Lebiota, Vince Whaley. So pretty even split there, because there's going to be a lot of guys that we talked about that are in this PM group then, like Sepp Straka. I like Danny Willett. So I don't want to bore you to take up all your time, but if you're going to lean AM PM, those are the guys who I just mentioned that you could kind of focus on if that's a lean that you're going to take. So last thing I'm going to bring up, just for everyone's humor and shits and giggles, and that way you can tell me later next week how stupid I am. There is my official betting card for the week. I have 5 win bets out. Matthew Wolf at 28-1, Tringali at 40, Straka at 75. He opened at 90, didn't pull the trigger. He dropped to 75, and I pulled it then. Davis, I think, opened at 150 or maybe even 125, and then, I mean, it was 6 hours later he had dropped to 100, so I got in then. And Christopher Ventura, I said I wasn't gonna, pick him to win, but at 350-1. Sure, if I think he's going to have a good tournament, he fucks around and gets, close on a Sunday. At 350-1, I'm all about it. And then I have 7 top 20s. A couple of these are, covering some win bets. I've got Sepp Straka, a win in the top 20. I've got Cam Davis, a win in the top 20. I got Ventura, a win in the top 20. And then I added Alex Dorn, who I really like this week, Willett, Whaley, and Sebastian Munoz. So there's my betting card. There's the DFS Tactics show for the 2021 Rocket Mortgage Classic. Best of luck in all your contests this weekend. Let me know how you do. Comment below. Let me know how you do, and what stats you focused on, or maybe a tip I gave you, or a tip that I said that you weren't using. You went the complete opposite way. Just let me know. Put it in the comment. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. All the support's appreciated. And for this weekend and beyond, may all your bets be profitable.